evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the third edition of CNBC-TV18's the India Healthcare Summit, presented by ICICI Lombard. Like all other sectors, the Indian healthcare landscape too is changing very rapidly with the age we live in, that is the technology or the digital age. So be it telemedicine, be it mobile health apps or health startups, all these are an attempt to make healthcare more accessible and affordable, besides bringing healthcare closer to the patient's doorstep. So what all this really signifies is that today we need new ideas, breakthroughs, innovations, and cutting-edge technology to bring about that much-needed change in our healthcare sector. It is with this aim in mind that CNBC-TV18, in partnership with ICICI Lombard, instituted the India Healthcare Summit in 2013 to provide a platform to debate, discuss, and deliberate on the various innovations that is happening or can happen in the healthcare space. So to kickstart this evening and to talk more on the aim of the summit, I'd like to invite on stage CNBC-TV18's editor of special projects, A.B. Ravi.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third edition of India Healthcare Summit. Before I get into today's event, let me put this evening into context by talking about a recently launched book titled In Search of the Perfect Health System. This book has been written by Dr. Mark Britnell, Chairman and Partner, Global Health Practice, KPMG. Well, I happened to do a panel discussion during the launch. Dr. Britnell researched this book for 6 years by visiting 60 countries. The book focuses on 25 countries as they cover 80% of world's economic wealth. And of course, India finds a mention here. And this is what Dr. Britnell says about India. Let me quote him. Private chains of healthcare providers in India are innovating with a speed and scale that shatter the myth that not only wealthy countries can afford high-quality care. By combining American assembly line methods, Japanese lean management technique, and a uniquely Indian jugaad, these organizations are able to offer Western levels of quality at a fraction of that cost. Unquote. Well, India has made its mark internationally. I also feel very proud that the book mentions Apollo Hospitals, Arvind Eye Care, Narayana Health, Lifespring, and Vatsalya as examples of leading-edge practice. There are not many hospitals and doctors who are also doing a good job and may have not been mentioned there. But I feel the whole country needs to be recognized like Israel and Singapore for its healthcare practice and model. Their percentage of spend on healthcare is lower as a percentage of GDP, yet they have the best healthcare facilities. Now with these thoughts of mine, let me turn to this evening's event. In the first year, we had Dr. Naresh Trehan of Medanta, who has been trying to integrate allopathic with Ayurveda. In the second year, we had speakers like Dr. Ramakant Panda from Asian Heart Hospital, Dr. Kamal Sharma from Lupin, Mr. Girindra Bihari from Bill Gates Foundation, Ms. Terry Bressenham from GE Healthcare, and Dr. K. Narasimhan from Satyasai Mobile Hospital. Today's speakers, I'm sure, will share with this august gathering as to how they or their organization have made difference to healthcare positively. I'm sure these eminent people will make the evening very stimulating. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ravi. Now moving on, well, here is a man who's combining Western medicine with therapeutic yoga. He's a Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery, and trained in the BKS Iyengar yoga system. Well, what a combination. Please welcome Dr. Krishna Raman on stage, who's going to tell us all about his unique healing method.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having us all over here today to share healthcare ideas on a common platform. I think as you very aptly put it, the entire healthcare scenario has to be looked upon in a holistic manner. When I use the word holistic, it's a loaded word. It doesn't mean that you'll bring into it as is commonly construed spirituality and stuff like that. No, no. It has to be very scientific and very cost effective. And without wasting much time, let me go on to the first slide. I have been integrating yoga and Western medicine for the past 28 years. I began practice in 1987 as an alumnus of Madras Medical College. I was always interested in the body's ability to heal itself. But how can it be done scientifically? Because yoga is something, it's a rage today, it's something of a fashion. But that's not the way. I use yoga to cure orthopedic ailments like disc prolapse in the neck, sports injuries in the knee like meniscal tears. and the patellofemoral disorders, carpal tunnel syndrome, disc prolapse, and so on. Uterine problems, allergic rhinitis, especially in a city like Bombay where we are all prone for respiratory disorders, migraine, peptic ulcer, painful periods. But the most important thing for me as a physician, as a conventionally trained Western medicine physician, is I use my own body as a research tool where I do yoga poses and make sure that I can understand exactly what goes on in my body when I do yoga poses. For example, there you see Dr. Suresh of Mediscan, Chennai. It's a premier ultrasonology center in Southeast Asia. He is examining my blood flow in the brain when I stand upside down. So people think it's good to stand upside down. A lot of claims are being made about yoga that it can cure myopia and so on. I'm going to show you a slide on the myths of yoga too at the end. But it's very important that yoga is scientifically studied like this. With Shankar Nethralaya in Chennai, for the first time, we did a large-scale study on yoga practitioners world over who had been standing on their head for about 20 minutes every day for 40 years. And the question was raised, is that harmful to the eye? The research showed no. But there is a difference between the classical yoga, as you see here, and therapeutic applications of yoga. Here, when we teach patients, general public yoga, the poses are independent. But here, a patient with a prolapsed disc at the L5, S1 level does yoga in a different manner with a small prop. And that is the speciality of the BK Iyengar system of yoga which I use. Now, if you go to a comparison of Western medicine, Eastern medicine and yoga, Western medicine is highly hypothesis-based. I take about 10,000 people, put them on ibuprofen, form a conclusion. Eastern medicine is different. They go intuitively. So there has to be a meeting point between these two. That is the problem because nowadays, if an Ayurvedic physician says, take the Ayurvedic medicine and I'll cure you, the allopathic physician says, don't trust him, you'll have renal failure. Yes, everybody knows this, right? Or don't go to homeopath, they'll use heavy metals. I would like to point out that our ancient physicians like Shushruta has clearly given a Sanskrit quotation where they said that a physician must be trained in one or two more disciplines before taking care of the patient. And that is what two-dimensional healthcare is all about. If I like yoga and I feel it has a clinical value, I must practice yoga, and I practice yoga every day. Because I can give Brufen, and if you tell me that you have a peptic problem, there's no connection. But if you do headstand and you get a problem in the neck, I know what it is exactly because I've done headstand too. So there should be a connect between the advice given and the patient, which is sorely lacking today. The doctor should empathetically connect to the patient, and that's lacking. So if you look at Eastern medicine and Western medicine, if there is a meeting point, that can happen only and only if the medical curriculum is altered and allopathic physicians are given training in different sciences, or at least an exposure to homeopathy, Ayurveda. I still refer patients to Ayurvedic physicians or homeopaths, but I monitor them to see if the clinical change comes about. The very first exposure was a patient who had a lymph node biopsy in the neck for Hodgkin's disease, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And after the lymph node biopsy was done, there was a big collection of pus. I know this person very well. I cannot reveal the name. It's not ethical. But this patient was due to travel, and I sent the patient to a homeopath, whom I know personally. 24 hours, the pus disappeared, which I know required an incision and drainage. But the patient didn't want it, and homeopathy cured. But again, no science is a panacea. Neither yoga, nor allopathy, nor Western medicine, or homeopathy, or Ayurveda is a panacea. That's what we should realize. There are two things in this. People run to yoga centers for relief from pain. As a physician, I would put a break there and say, consult your physician before you can go to yoga, because I've seen plenty of yoga-related injuries because there is no training for the yoga teachers. There is no anatomy or physiology taught to the yoga teacher. But now the Ayush has come forward to train yoga teachers, but even that is not adequate when it comes to handling a patient. Only doctors know what the disc is. Only doctors know what a myocardial infarction is. Otherwise, there's no point in us training for 7 years and 10 years. So, we have to look at the yoga posture medically, not according to what yoga has said in the ages, like they say, if you can do Mayurasana, you can swallow poison. Just put that aside. That is not right. Okay? So we have to look at the therapeutic applications from a licensed point of view and demystify the claims and myths about yoga. For example, can yoga cure short sight? Can yoga cure obesity? No, it cannot cure obesity. So what I'm trying to highlight here is study yoga scientifically and then see what its clinical applications are. Do not use yoga blindly. So the most important message here is for the patients is consistent yoga practice alone gives clinical relief. Now, I'm just going to give you a couple of slides on demystifying yoga. Yoga cannot cure cataract or myopia. Does yoga prolong life? People want to prolong life, you see. I had a patient who came to me and said, I want to learn yoga. I said, why? I want to learn headstand. Why? I want to live long. I said, whoever told you if you stand on your head, you're going to live long? No, in your book, you have said that yoga can improve quality of life. Please teach me how I can do it. And he was 77. I said, do you have any medical problems? Yeah, I had a myocardial infarction 1 year ago. I said, there's no way I can put you to headstand. And second of all, there's no guarantee that yoga is going to make you live long. Please remove that. So these are all myths that you should debunk. Is yoga a tool for obesity? No, certainly not. Because for the lipolytic action to happen in the body, the pulse rate has to go up. And yoga brings down your pulse rate. Yoga does not increase your pulse rate. Please remember. And very commonly, yoga is being touted as, I'm going to show you a short demo here. Look at this. That is not yoga. Yoga is meant to bring down the respiratory rate. And I'm going to show you something now. Of course, I've been speaking a lot, so my pulse rate will not settle down. But yet, I'm going to show you how the breathing has to take place. And then you will see what happens after that. I'm just going to exhale, okay? Listen to the sound. Can you see how long the breath was? Even the way I speak has changed. One breath. So yoga actually hibernates the system. Not, that is not yoga. So yoga cures high blood pressure. No. High blood pressure is multifactorial. Lifestyle issues play a great role. So just by doing yoga, you cannot go to sleep at 12:30, 2 o'clock and yet do yoga and get rid of your blood pressure. Not possible. Yoga cures asthma. No way. With the pollution index going high in India, yoga cannot cure asthma. Yoga improves fertility rates. Sorry, yoga has no role in fertility or infertility. Okay? Yoga helps skin ailments. No. Yoga can prevent graying of hair. I would have prevented my hair from becoming gray too. So these are all the things that the lay public is exposed to and taken for a ride, unfortunately. I'm using a strong word because when I deliver healthcare, it has to be thoroughly researched and the patient's health is my responsibility. I cannot just make tall claims. So now, I've tried to compress a lot of, I can go on and on. Yoga is a big ocean and integrating it into medicine is a huge thing.
The next speaker is a game changer. Not only because at the age of 16 he founded India Games and is best known as the father of the Indian gaming industry, but because of the changing the way people use technology for their fitness and health needs. Our next speaker is Vishal Gondal, whose passion for technology, fitness and gaming led him to his venture Goki, which offers a wearable fitness band paired with remote personalized coaching. Well, let's welcome Vishal Gondal on stage to really understand what Goki is aiming at.
I want to start with a little story. So while I started my first company when I was 16, and it was, it ended up becoming India's biggest games company. What I realized was while I was, having millions of people play games, one of the things which suffered was my own health. So while I was a national volleyball player in school and college, I had literally become a volleyball myself while I was running my company. And like any other technology geek, I said, you know what, I'm going to use technology to get back in shape and get fit. And I bought every possible fitness band and fitness app and, went to every blog. But it was just a matter of a few weeks and, I lost the motivation to continue doing what I was doing. Until I came across a coach. And this coach was in my local area and he said, I know you keep traveling all the time. I have an idea. Give me access to your data and I'll tell you what to do. So literally I gave him all my account passwords. I said, check everything. My coach used to check my data and I used to travel pretty much everywhere around the world. And he used to WhatsApp me, email me, SMS me and say, this is what I want you to do today. This is what you did today. To cut a long story short, working with a remote coach, it's now been almost 4 years. I just finished running my 12th half marathon. I've done 4 ultra marathons. I've checked. I do a monthly blood test, by the way, for doctors over here. I'm a crazy guy. I have quantified every aspect of what I do. I have data based on whether it is my physical activity, my nutrition, my water intake. And all of this was going to a set of experts who were advising me what to do. And that's what led to a lifestyle change in myself. And when I so I ended up selling my company to Disney. I was with Disney for a year. It was fun and games. But when I said that what should I be doing next, what I saw was that there was this industry waiting to be disrupted. Because the biggest challenge in healthcare and what we are all discussing here is not information. What doctor just told us, everybody knows about yoga. Everybody knows about you should not be eating fried food. You should not be drinking so much. You should not be smoking. The problem is not information. The problem is motivation. So I think the challenge of the industry is motivation. And motivation comes from how you behave. And the solution to this in my little brain was that we need to focus on what we do very well as gaming, which is behavior and habit change. Now just imagine the way we use gaming techniques to addict you to get the candy or to be throwing those pigs out at the birds. We could use the same techniques to now suddenly make you eat green vegetables, walk more, drink more water, and enjoy living a healthier lifestyle. So my idea was, how could I use my knowledge of gaming, combine it with whatever knowledge is already existing, and throw in behavior change and motivation? Of course, it sounded very stupid and boring, and when I told it to people, they said, this is really stupid. And by the way, that's the cue for me to say what I'm doing is great. So in my world, when people tell you your idea is really stupid and there is no evidence of it working, I consider that a good idea. So that's what led to the formation of Goki, which is my next venture. Goki, the idea of Goki, as you see, is guide, motivate, and empower. It was not about trying to tell you what to do. Most people already know that. It was about getting the data from you and motivating you to do action. Simply put, what we are looking for is a lifestyle change. And lifestyle change is, again, it's not prescriptive. You can't write a prescription and say from tomorrow morning, I want you to change your lifestyle. Lifestyle consists of habits. So we are all habits, whether you have, 3 spoons of sugar of tea, or whether you wake up and you want to have, a shot of lemon water with honey, or do yoga like doctor over here. So there are different people who have different habits. And the theory behind habits is that what works with habit is something called willpower. And since we are all doctors here, just a little bit interesting tidbit here, that willpower is like any other muscle. So as a human, if I tell you this month, no sugar, no fried food, no juice, no red meat, no wine, no cigarette, nobody in the world can use the willpower to stop doing so many things. So scientifically, it has been proven that it's better to take 1 or 2 habits at a time and practice it for 21 days. So if you take one habit and say, I'm not going to have sugar in the morning, and do that for 21 days, there is a high probability that you will start getting into a habit of reducing your sugar intake. So we took a lot of these cues into a gamified system and created possibly the world's biggest lifestyle change program. And it is run like a game. So none of our users are patients or sick or clients. They are all playing a game. And the approach is, and I wanted to put a little graph here. The approach is that, the player is the user who's playing the game, and the remote coach who is monitoring you remotely and giving you the motivation and, hey, good job done, or I want you to push you, or I want you to do it better, is somebody who's sitting. And then there are peers who are also doing this with you together. And the approach was that without self-management, this cannot work. People need to finally take responsibility of their own health and their own lifestyle. If they're only going to depend on people in the room and say, you know what, I'm going to eat and drink and I know some medicine is going to immediately cure me, that is the way to doom. So when it came to self-management, the beauty is each and every Indian is already sitting with a mobile phone. These phones are soon, already they have many capabilities, but soon they will be having pretty much every possible diagnostic application running on them. So imagine, to put it simply, every person is going to have an ICU in his pocket, which means I'll have access to my heart rate data, I'll have access to my step data, my sleep data. Data is going to get commoditized. Now, people don't know what to do with this data, which is the next challenge. And there is no system in the world who is going to be ready to do it. Imagine all the doctors here, if patients come to you and say, sir, look at this mobile phone and it is telling me my heart rate is 142. Am I dying or am I alive or what is the issue? So you can't handle it. So the intervention is going to be very, very different. So if you look at the interventions for behavior change, we are looking at a construct which includes chatting, just like WhatsApp. So you are having your data, and with your data, you are chatting with a trained coach who's let's say a semi-healthcare professional. You also have a lot of activities and gamification over here, which helps you improve the entire process and which motivates you to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Gondal. Thank you. Interesting on how we have to manage a habit.
For me, the engagement with healthcare and patients is not transactional. It's not you come in once, you have this treatment and you go out. It's the building of a relationship and a continuum of a care. It's an endeavor to prevent, to cure and to comfort. But it's also to create capacity.